Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the cola nut. This is the guy you can see on screen right now, and as always I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and the latter part of the video I'm going to take a closer look at the perks, mutations and equipment, everything you need to know in order to make the character right. So let's get right into it. As you can already see, we're using power armor here, meaning that we're doing a power armor rifleman build. Something that I have tried, or let's say not tried, but I have done already using the plasma flamer barrel. But that was kind of, let's say, kind of different, because it was actually not feeling like a rifleman. And with this character here, what we're going to do is we're going to make use out of the laser rifle, a criminally underutilized weapon in this game, and not underutilized because people don't get that it's good or anything, but because it actually isn't all that great. Now, if you're like me and are basically a long-time Fallout fan, have played the other games and such, well, one of my favorite characters I tried to make in pretty much every older Fallout game was kind of this endgame character, power armor and energy weapons. Now, energy weapons in this game aren't a particular class that you spec into, but rather they are, like in Fallout 4, just benefiting from their respective class, meaning that if you're having a semi-automatic rifle, you're using the rifleman perks. If you're having pistols, you're using the gunslinger perks, and so on. You get the point. Now, that doesn't mean anything in particular, but what you should know is that simply the build is different from other rifleman builds. Now, usually what you want to do if you're going for a rifleman build is most of the times you're going to utilize stealth, simply because it works very well. And the thing is, with energy rifles, that's just not a thing you're going to do. Now, if you're playing on a completely dedicated stealth character, you can get away with stealth in certain situations, like let's say you're outdoors. For example, the White Spring area is something you can manage to do fairly well in stealth with energy rifles if your character is good enough. However, there's limits. So let's say you're going into the West Tech building, or in general, if you're inside a building, it's very hard to maintain stealth with laser rifles. So therefore you want to be in combat most of the time. You have to make use out of them like they are without benefiting from any sneak perks. But believe it or not, the laser rifle has some things going for it. Now, on first hand, what you want to see in a rifle is usually you want to, as I said, you want to use stealth, and basically the criterion if a rifle is good or not is, can it one-shot things? Because what a rifle usually is it has relatively low ammo capacity, but it's kind of hard hitting and has low fire rate. Now, with the laser rifle it's a bit different. Now, you're not having the fire rate of an automatic rifle, unless you turn it automatic, obviously, but what you have is you have a relatively high magazine size. Now, having 30 rounds in a clip doesn't sound like all that big of a benefit, but keep in mind how crazy people can go for, let's say, a quad version of the lever action rifle, for example. So a big magazine size is directly affecting your DPS, because you spend less time reloading and such. And usually one problem, for example, if you're using a lever action rifle or a hunting rifle, yeah, if you only have 5 or 6 shots in a clip before you have to reload, you really want to one-shot enemies. However, with our laser rifle we do have 30 shots before we have to reload, and that means it's not a big bummer if we have to use 2 to 3 shots to kill something. And that's exactly what we're utilizing here. Now, another thing is, with pretty much every weapon in this game, if it's bad, you basically want to use, let's take on a Scorch Beast for once. I mean, it's not going to be a super quick fight, but yeah, we're going to see. Another thing you want to see, now I've kind of lost my point. yeah, back to it. Especially with bad weapons, one way to really get power out of weapons in this game is using VATS. Simply using VATS crits can really enhance your gameplay. And by the way, here you see why what this build shines at, and that is killing enemies on open ground with relatively high range. Using Gunfu and Adrenaline, we're really getting somewhere, and the range is very good compared to other weapons. Now, not that the range itself is so much better, but alright, he landed, so that's our chance here. Now, as you can see here, this is no comparison to a stealth commando maybe, but it's not like we're struggling here. You can also use some free aim here and there, but keep in mind our real damage comes from our crits. But I don't think that this is underperforming or anything. Now obviously if you're going against Earl or the Scorched Beast Queen, you're going to be in trouble. But yeah, that's just the way it is. By the way, let's take a look at our condition. Yeah, we're nearly burnt, but we were at half condition or something. So let's see how long we can go with this one. That brings me to another point. And one thing that people really tend to have a problem with on energy weapons is the condition. But having terrible condition is something this misconception comes from basically using legacy weapons with the plasma, with the beam splitter mod. Now, for those of you who don't know, most people that use energy weapons in this game use, or laser rifles in particular, use the explosive variants that can't drop anymore. And as you know, explosive doubles the duration, or not doubles, halves the duration, because duration loss is counted on hits. So every time you hit an enemy, you lose condition, and with an explosive rifle, you hit an enemy twice, so your condition goes down twice as fast. And with the beam splitter, yeah, you're shooting like 5 individual shots, and therefore your condition goes down like 10 times faster. So that's why they are terrible in terms of condition. But on a simple standard rifle, you don't want to use a beam splitter, because that just messes with your armor penetration and doesn't really give you a little benefit, except for nice synergies with some legendary effects. For example, the Vampires effect can really benefit from a beam splitter because it heals you more, but overall it's not the best idea to go for a beam splitter. Now, as always, if we're using VATS, a assault run can be a pain, but this time we can tank it pretty well, and once it's out of stealth, we can use VATS, and that's where we really get damage in. Now, as you can see here, within 2 to 3 shots we take down a ghoul, and within 4 to 5 shots we will be able to take down a Mr. Gutsy or a super mutant, which you will see later on. And well, it's not bad. It's not a bad build. You're running through fusion cells relatively fast, but it's not a problem. We're using primed ammo, by the way, which makes it very easy to craft. I do have rank 4 of ammo factory, so this is really an endgame build, to be honest. And I can make like 430 ultrasight fusion cells in a go. I'm not quite sure, it might be a bit more, a bit less, but around 420, 430 rounds a go. And it uses Crimson Flux, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, basically I had 10 Crimson Flux, and I was ending up with 4,000 shots or something, which held us out for quite a while. Now, one very notable thing about this build is that you're burning through fusion cores. So this build I would only recommend if you do have a good way to sustain fusion cores. So that means if you have a private server you can use, for example, to farm fusion cores, or if you can just buy them from someone on Reddit or a Facebook group or whatever. But yeah, that's something you should keep in mind, because the thing is that the fusion core's charge goes down when you use AP. Normally that means if you're a heavy gunner, for example, yeah, when you sprint, or another good example is the jetpack. If you use that, you're burning through fusion cores a bit faster, or quite a lot faster than by just walking or just being in power armor. The thing is, we're constantly using bats, so we really go down when it comes to fusion cores. Now, on an average, I would say, like, if you're playing for about an hour, you probably use up 2 to 3 fusion cores, so keep that in mind. But if you are able to keep a good supply of fusion cores, there's nothing holding you back. I really like this build. It's really cool. It's a fresh pace. It really feels a bit different, and playing a rifleman that doesn't have to worry about his health all the time is kind of refreshing, honestly. Now, another thing that's worth mentioning is that, well, you could argue that you could just as well use a automatic version of this weapon, but I wouldn't recommend this for the simple reason that on this occasion you do have the chance to go for a rifleman character over a commando character, and yeah, you're a bit more efficient when it comes to AP, and this build isn't meant to be yeah, I thought this could have been interesting, but not really. On this build you're really in for a slower playstyle. It's kind of like what I remember from older games, from Fallout 3 or something. You don't want to have this FPS thing. While you can sometimes clear enemies very fast if you're like in a narrow corridor, for example, and have a quite array of scorched or ghouls, you can really kill them quickly. But if you're using the weapon in such a condition like here, where you have relatively tough enemies spread about, yeah, you really take your time, take out one enemy at a time, and wait for your AP to refresh, which happens quite quickly. Now, one thing this character can do, and I managed to fail on that, but it wasn't really necessary up to this part. When you're fighting, let's say, a Scorch Beast or a Milder Queen or whatever, and you do run out of AP, yeah, with only 2 perk investments in Cola Nut, we actually do have Nuka Cherry and Nuka Quantum here, which really increases the speed of how our AP refreshes. So you get a lot of AP back from using one of those, and they're relatively easy to maintain a steady supply. Now, you don't want to use them in every fight, but yeah, that doesn't matter. If you're going to run out of AP, which happens, then you just chuck a Nuka-Cola Quantum or something and you are back in the business. Now, another thing that this character does, which I wanted to try for quite a while, is there is this modification for power armor for the torso, which restores AP when you're taking damage. Now, for the longest while, I wasn't sure if this is worth it, because you have just like so much other options when it comes to the torso. And to be honest, for example, you have the version that just outright increases your damage, your AP refresh, which is great and would be a good option here. But what I found out is that the moments you get a bit into trouble with this build is when you're getting swarmed by a lot of enemies. Meaning that usually when you're getting swarmed by enemies, they will just, yeah, there's a chance you're running out of AP, and you have to basically wait a few seconds while they just wail at you and kill you. And with this mod, it seems to proc on hits, not on damage dealt, but rather like, yeah, the amount of hits that that hit you. So if enemies with fast firing weapons are going against you, like super mutants with miniguns, for example, or if large group of enemies attack you, for example you're swarmed by ghouls, then this mod really restores so much AP that sometimes you can just stay in vets as long as these guys fight you, which is really cool and really helps out. I'm not sure if it was visible here, but it particularly happens when you're out at White Spring, for example, at the golf club. Now, overall, I really like this build. It's the first time I'm using a laser rifle that I really feel like I'm not left behind or something. Now, obviously, the problems with energy weapons are still there, so that means if we were to use something like a combat rifle or something, we may perform better. But this build really wants to shoot quite a lot of shots, so the big magazine size is on this occasion something that probably makes this a better choice than going for, let's say, a combat rifle or something. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just very happy with how the build turned out, to be honest. So even if you're going against this here high level super mutants, we don't have a problem at all. Now, being in power armor means we can tank quite a lot of shots. We do have ricochet, so we have quite some investment into defensive perks. We're not having high endurance, so keep that in mind, but I mean, we can definitely be taken out. That's not a problem, but during fights you usually don't have to think about using stimpaks. By the way, this reload I just did was completely unnecessary, but it's something you just have to get used to, not reloading all the time, because yeah, on most builds you want that. And well, you just have to get away a little bit from this mindset that you want to one-shot everything, because after all, what counts is DPS, and on this department I think the build doesn't lack all that much. Now, I hope you saw how a build turns out and have a feeling for it. I was actually kind of glad that I did for once take down a Scorch Beast, because yeah, as you see, this build doesn't really have limits. The only limiting factor is really that you are running through fusion cores quite a lot. So that was it in terms of gameplay, and we're now going to take a look at our effects and everything. So as you can see here, we currently have 48% extra damage from adrenaline, but that's going to go away in a minute. Now, we do have some addictions here. I forgot to use an addictol, so keep in mind we do have a bit more stats usually, so now they're our way. We don't really need them, and the blight also, well, not sure when we did pick up that, but yeah, this is how the build should look like. Adrenal reaction. Now, during fights we do have a perk that gives us a stimpak at 20% health, meaning that we usually not use stimpaks by ourselves, but just over time our body uses a stimpak automatically, meaning that we're quite a lot of time we spend at around 70 to 30%, I'd say. So adrenal reaction always has a little bit of a benefit that it gives us, so it's really worth it on this character. Bird bones and eagle eyes are quite self-explanatory. More agility and more crit damage and perception is good for a VATS character. We're constantly using VATS, so having more AP is nice, more perception for better hit chance, and we're constantly using crits, so having more crit damage. By the way, I'm hearing combat music. Back to business. Egghead, just for a little bit more intelligence. I mean, endurance and strength is bad that we have a debuff, but especially strength we're already quite low from bird bones and eagle eyes, so that doesn't matter. It's only the endurance, and since we are in power armor we are quite tanky, so it's no problem. Now, healing factor, this is something, well, sometimes I do recommend it, sometimes I don't. It's never something that really outright breaks your build, in my opinion, because rarely do you really rely on chems. The notable downside to this build, to this mutation, is that chem effects are also stimpaks. So stimpaks are way less effective with this mutation. However, what this means is if we are in trouble and our health drops to 20% and we get a stimpak, we're not back to full health but to 50, which is most of the times enough. And in power armor you can spam stimpaks, so if that's not enough you can manage to interrupt yourself. But it's nice because most of the fights, really pretty much every fight, we do survive with like 40 or 30% health left. And what the healing factor does is that as soon as the fight stops, we just regen our health really quickly. You saw it during the video. So it's nice to have, but definitely not necessary. It's up to your personal preference if you want to use it or not. Now, Marsupial and Speed Demon, I mean, those two are like on pretty much every build I have. So yeah, more carry weight, more jump height, and faster movement speed and reload. Yeah, these are universally good. Then we are well hydrated. This is something we really want to be all the time, because 25% extra AP refresh, that's immense. Now the disease resistance, I don't care, but more AP refresh, you can imagine, is good on our character. Now we do everything, so we don't need to rely on AP refresh that much, but it's nice to have. Onto our items. This is our weapon here, and as you see, the condition, we started the video with around 1/3, bit over 1/3 of the condition, and we're still here. So I don't know, you can really run for a time. Now, I repaired this thing to 100% condition and then played for 2 to 3 hours, constantly shooting stuff. Condition really isn't the problem here. Now, we do have the prime capacitor, a aligned long barrel, forceful stock, reflex sight, beam focuser, and default appearance. Now, default appearance, I think there's only one skin. You could have the Tricentennial or something, but well, the more interesting stuff, the prime capacitor. On energy weapons, it really benefits you. Now, there are a lot of weapons where it's arguably not worth it to prime your weapon, but on energy weapons it is, especially the laser rifle. It increases our damage significantly and makes crafting ammo way more easy. I mean, if you have the Crimson Flux, I think it is. But as I said, 10 Crimson Flux gave me 4,000 shots or something, 4,200 and a bit. And now we're down to 3,500. So yeah, if you can manage to get 20, 25 Crimson Flux, you should be swimming in ultrasight fusion cells for a while. Now, the aligned barrel, aligned means better hipfire accuracy, which means better AP usage. So we're using less AP in VETs, which is nice. We could go for the same thing with an aligned stock on and increase our efficiency a bit. However, I felt like forceful stock was a good decision here because it improved our condition. Now there's the precise stock, I think it's called, which does a bit of both and would probably be the best option. I just don't like it because it's not a full grip and it makes the weapon look a bit stupid. I don't know, I like this look, so this is just a personal preference, but keep in mind you could be a little more efficient if you use the precise stock or the aligned stock. Now the reflex sight, same reason as the aligned long barrel, better VETs, and the same goes for the beam focuser. This is about everything. Now as you can see, our effects are very synergizing, so we do have anti-armor effect with better VETs crits and faster filling VETs crits. So this weapon is really meant for VETs usage. And anti-armor, we have relatively low base damage compared to other rifles, so we really benefit from the anti-armor effect here. Overall, I do just like the combination here. Onto apparel, which I forgot yesterday, but I'm going to write into the description what ammo I used yesterday. This time it's pretty straightforward. We have a full set of T51B armor. The torso has the kinetic dynamo. This is the one I talked about. Like what it does is when we're getting hit, we are refreshing AP. It's really noticeable. Now, it's hard to see when you're not playing, but playing the character with and without this mod, I really saw a big difference. I was running out of AP way less than before I installed the mod, so you just have to trust me here. The arms and legs are currently completely unmodded. Nothing you really need here. Obviously, if you want the calibrated shocks for the legs would be nice. We have relatively low carrying capacity, but another 100 carrying capacity from calibrated legs and you're golden. Yeah, you have no problem at all. So that would be the end game goal here, to get those. I just didn't feel the necessity to waste resources on this occasion because I just wanted to show off and yeah, it's just more carry weight, so you can imagine how it turns out. For the arms, there's nothing we really need, and in terms of the helmet, I do have the sensor array, which gives us one more perception, I think. The VETS matrix overlay would be nice to give you better VETS hit chance, but overall, nothing you really need here. There are this sensors, I think, that highlight enemies nearby. Here you can go nuts, do whatever you like. You could increase your intelligence a little, but overall, yeah, nothing you really need. We also have the standard headlamp. The red one would work well, but yeah, that's up for personal preference. And we do have this here Nuka-Cola skin, which is kind of nice. It's also not an Atomic Shop skin. It's one of the coolest skins in the game, and it's actually one you can get within the game. I'm not sure if it's currently available, but it should be. So keep that in mind. And last thing we're going to take a look at are our perks here. Now, in strength we have 5, just for carry weight. There's nothing we really need here. It's also boosted quite a bit, or a little bit, by legendary perks. But yeah, nothing you really need here, especially Bandolier if you want to use this character and not using anything else. Yeah, you don't need any ballistic ammo, so it's just because I'm switching my characters all the time. Traveling Pharmacy, I like to have a lot of Stimpaks on me simply so I never have to care about it, but it's completely optional as well. Now, onto Perception. This is important. We want to have all 3 ranks of Rifleman maxed out, Tank Killer for even more armor penetration, and chance to stagger, and Concentrated Fire. Well, on this occasion it really works. Yesterday I said only 1 rank is enough because we want to target the head, but as you saw, once we're at range, basically if we start with a 30% hit chance, within the 3rd shot usually we're gonna hit the enemy. And for some reason the laser weapons don't or aren't hit that much by range. Now maybe that's because they do have so much range, or the damage penalty for range isn't all that bad. However, I found that they work quite well over quite a range, so therefore Concentrated Fire is a good choice here. Now, Endurance at 4. In all actuality we are down at Endurance 1 because of our debuffs from our mutations. But yeah, the perks we want here is Cola Nut. It's a personal preference. Now, as I said, how you want to use it is when you're running out of AP, which shouldn't be all that much, all that often, then you can chuck a Cola Quantum or a Cherry, and yeah, you have good healing items with Nuka-Cola, and the AP refresh is nice. So therefore I just wanted to have it, and it fits the character quite well. And rank 2 of Fireproof is enough so that our character doesn't die from a exploding car nearby or something. Onto Charisma. Now, if you have room for legendary Charisma, you could also include Lone Wanderer here, which would just be a plain benefit. But Tenderizer here is nice. We never going to one-shot most enemies, so most of the times we need 2 to 3 to 5 shots, and therefore we have a lot of benefit from Tenderizer. It's a good choice here. Onto Intelligence. Batteries included, and Gunsmith. Now, I was torn between using Gunsmith or using Power User. So, as I said, we're burning through fusion cores quite fast. So, one combination I went with for quite a while was Power User and rank 2 of Gunsmith. So, it's a little bit... You have to make a compromise here. The thing is, if you have more trouble with repairing your weapon, then you use Gunsmith. If you have more trouble with sustaining fusion cores, then use Power User, and you can go twice as fast. It really helps quite a lot, so it's a noteworthy thing to take a look at. Onto Agility, you have rank 3 of Action Boy through Hiker, rank 2 of Bone Survivor, Escape Artist, Gunfu, and Adrenaline. Escape Artist, to be honest, is just here because, yeah, there was nothing else we could throw in here. It's completely useless. What you want to do is rank 3 of Bone Survivor for once. But, yeah, this is what you need here. Action Boy for better AP refresh, through Hiker, just to carry those Nuka-Colas, but yeah, if you just want to carry a few of them, yeah, arguably not worth it. What you could do is increase adrenaline, which, to be honest, we do that now. Or yeah, let's not do it, because maybe I can... rank 3 is something I can use for other builds as well. Now, you would want rank 4 of adrenaline instead of the escape artist, which doesn't do us any favor. Gunfu, very important here. Oftentimes we do kill an enemy and switch over to the next one, and the extra damage is very nice to have. So therefore Gunfu, good choice here. Born Survivor, as I said, we don't want to worry about Stimpaks all that much. So therefore having an automatic perk that does it for us is very nice. And last but not least, we are at luck, which is very important for us. Tormentor. Now it gives us a 15% chance to cripple an enemy's limb. Now that also means we have a 15% chance to stagger an enemy on top of the stagger chance from Tank Killer. So this is something that just helps us dealing with bigger enemies, so we can cripple their limbs and such. Grim Reaper Sprint, this often procs and restores our complete AP, so it just is very helpful, especially if we're going against bigger groups of enemies like ghouls, for example. You can really get some nice VETS chains here and there. Better criticals and critical savvy, these are quite obvious. Critical savvy means that we're just getting more criticals, or getting criticals faster, and better criticals, yeah, we want to pump every point of damage we can get out of our criticals. They really make a difference. And last but not least, what we do have here is our legendary perks. Now follow through maxed out, but it doesn't do us any favor because we're not sneaking, so keep that in mind. On this occasion what you could do is far-flung fireworks. It's just a nice little bonus, but yeah, nothing you really need here. I'd rather increase another stat, for example intelligence, so you can get both. I don't know, I'd already have intelligence, but you know what I mean, you can use it to increase your stats in order to get more convenience perks or something. Ammo Factory, yeah, this is definitely something I would have on at least one character. Now, we do have one strength, just so we can use the perks I wanted to use, but as I said earlier, strength is completely up to your choice, what you want to have in terms of carry weight and such. Intelligence, now, you want to have fairly high intelligence, or at least in the midway, like 8 or something. Now, you don't need to do that with a legendary intelligence. You know how it works, you can just use the base intelligence and use the legendary attribute to boost something else. Endurance, yeah, just a little bit more endurance to get the perks, but as I said earlier, we are at 1 endurance as far as the game is concerned because of our debuff, so this is really only for the perks. If you say like you don't have a problem with explosions, for example, then yeah, you don't need that here. And this one is the only one that's really important for our character. If it's maxed out, that would be great. Your what it does is it gives you a chance to recharge your fusion core, and it also heals you when some enemy shoots you with an energy weapon. So therefore, yeah, this is just a nice perk in order to boost your survivability, and also helps you a little bit with your fusion core usage. So overall, my thoughts about the build, I really liked it. It played out very, very nice. It's a really refreshing pace, and I didn't feel underpowered. I don't know, like, tell me how you feel about it. When you look at it, obviously it's not a queen killer or something, so it's not going to be a meta build or anything, but for what it is, in my opinion, it's one of the best times I had with laser weapons in this game so far. And also it feels very true to older games. You can make a very good paladin build, like for example if you use the T60 power armor, which I just didn't have a full set of. You can make a pretty cool power armor character from Fallout 4, for example, a Brotherhood character, but I already had some Brotherhood characters, so I thought I wanted to switch up something, and also I like the Nuka-Cola paint job very well. And arguably T51B power armor is also pretty cool, gives you the most damage resistance if I recall correctly. So yeah, that's what I went with, but overall I hope you enjoyed the build. Sorry that yesterday's build was kind of a bit messy. I was talking a bit different than the last few videos, but as I already said, I had kind of a break. I hope this one's a bit better, and see you next time, guys. Bye.